Welcome to the first ever episode of the WrightBet presented by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Malik Wright, joined by my co-host, Daniel Alameda. We had a little bit of technical difficulties to start the show, but Daniel, if this is any sign, it's going to be a good show because obviously if there are any issues going into a show, that's always a good sign for a very productive one. Appreciate you guys sticking with us. Appreciate you guys being jazzed up and excited about this show getting started. On this show, what you're going to see is you're going to see our tips, our picks for the different sporting events that are happening, whether it be the UFC, the NFL, so on and so forth. And I'm just excited to get this show underway. It's going to be a truly interactive show where we're going to answer your questions, get the audience involved with us. Then, Daniel, without further ado, I'm just going to kick it off to you, my man.
So, Malik, in sports, without adversity, there is no sport. So we, faced a little adversity. We overcame the adversity and we're here, we're live. So how this show's going to go is we're going to be, it's going to be very interactive. We want you to comment down below. We want you to throw us your best bets because it's a community here, right? We've got our best bets, but we also want to hear what you have. So we're going to start it off. It's going to go college football. We're going to go UFC. Then we're going to go NFL. And at the end, we're going to answer some of your questions, any of your best bets. So what better way to start it off than in college football with Roll Tide, Malik? Roll Tide, Alabama. Listen, I'm going to take the spread here, minus 21.5. We locked it in earlier in the week at minus 20.5. This is a game where there's just a huge discrepancy. And some people may say, oh, you're taking the favorite. I'm sorry. I don't care if I'm taking the favorite if we're winning money. That's a lot of people. A lot of times they say, well, you're taking the favorite. Malik, if we're winning money, that's all that matters. So for Alabama, the reason why we like this play is because I look at the huge discrepancy of the Bama defensive line and the Texas offensive line. The Texas offensive line is starting more freshmen than upperclassmen this year. They got a freshman at quarterback who barely started 2 games so far. So I look at a Bama team like this where they have the best quarterback in the country. They have arguably the most talented Bama team I've ever seen with my own eyes. And I look at this and I see them winning by 3 touchdowns. You can take the full spread or you can even take the first half spread. So I'm rolling with Bama Roll Tide today.
Listen, Alabama's got to get it back in blood. Let's simply call it what it is, right? Last year, they lost in the national championship to Georgia, and everybody seems to be writing Alabama off, almost acting as if they aren't a shoe and acting as if Alabama isn't a regular or a staple in the college football national championship. Let me remind everybody about who Alabama truly is. I personally think they've got the best quarterback in the country in Bryce Young. A lot of people might disagree, but that's a Heisman Trophy winner right there. If you ask me, I think Alabama is going to shock a lot of people this upcoming football season. And I think first on the hit list is Texas. And I'm pretty excited to see what this Alabama Crimson Tide team looks like. And yeah, I'm just ready to get it going, man.
Oh, yeah. So if also just letting you guys know, if you're here for the NFL segment, stay tuned. We're going to, get to that in probably 15, 20 minutes. But we've got one more college football play for you. And we're rolling with Kentucky plus 5.5. We're here in Cincinnati. We're about 15 to 20 minutes from Kentucky. So we're rolling with this. And the reason why we like this play is because people tend to overreact after week 1. They overreact after week 1 in the NFL, in a lot of different sports, and especially with college football.
Yeah.
They look at Florida last week, who beat a Utah team, but that was a very close game. Utah screwed up twice in the red zone. And if they would have scored one more of those touchdowns, this spread wouldn't be 5.5. This spread would be 2.5. And also, people tend to forget interconference games tend to be so much closer. So I don't want people sitting here and saying, oh, well, he's saying Kentucky's going to win. No, I'm saying Kentucky's going to lose, or they're going to either win or they're going to lose by 5.5. So I'm going to play it safe with an interconference game like Kentucky with a veteran roster that they have, Will Levis on the team. And I know their star running back is hurt, but they're a veteran roster going up against a Florida team. Interconference play. I'm taking the points here with Kentucky. So that'll pretty much do it for our college football segment. If you guys want our full college football bets, go subscribe to the TWSN Patreon. Link in the description. We have our full bets there, whether it's college football, UFC, NFL. We're giving a lot of our free plays here, but our team has been absolutely dominating. So that'll do it for college football. Malik, it's UFC time. It's UFC time, and I would love to take a lot of the shine, but you really are that guy when it comes to UFC. So let's talk a little bit about UFC for our UFC fans out there, there was a lot of, crazy situations that happened. Some fights got switched up, but that doesn't mean we can't win money. So let's talk about some of these fights. We got Almeida is fighting Anton Turkaji. Malik, what do you like about, Jailton Almeida?
Jailton Almeida is a freak of nature. When I say a freak of nature, I mean a freak of nature. The guy is great with stand up and has power that's out of this world. He can wrestle. He can, he has a good submission game as well. Listen, at the end of the day, I don't expect this fight to go past one round. Jailton Almeida, I expect him to put his lights out pretty quickly. There's a reason why he's a minus 600 favorite. Last I checked, Jailton Almeida. It's funny. Before Jailton Almeida, started fighting the heavyweight division, I want to say when he first made his UFC debut, the guy was fighting in the light heavyweight division. It seems like he's really found a home up at heavyweight, and I think the reason why he has is because the heavyweights that he's fighting against are slow, right? They can't keep up with his speed and his power. He really does carry power like a heavyweight. So he was dominating at the light heavyweight division, but what he was finding is that guys were probably a little bit quicker than him. But this later in his career, him being 30 plus years old, it seems like he's really found a home at the heavyweight division. This seems like one of those layup fights that the UFC is giving him, and I don't expect it to last too long.
Oh yeah, and I absolutely love that. And Malik, I'm gonna take it, a quick second to talk to our producers over here, and I'm talking to the people, watching this video. Something that people do a lot of times in sports betting, they love to throw these long parlays, these 10-leg parlays. I'm talking to our viewers out there. Don't just place parlays. Don't just place parlays. And Isaac, I know you're looking over there. Just place parlays. Listen, if you want to make serious money, throw some money on the parlay. Throw $50, throw $100 on the parlay, but also take straight bets, please. Trust me.
But Daniel, I feel like you're kind of taking a shot at me there. You're talking to a guy who made 18 grand off of a UFC parlay. So I don't know, man. What Daniel is saying is absolutely right, but also don't be fearful of the parlay. I feel like some people can be fearful of putting money down. A buddy of mine who's in the sports betting industry, he told me, he said the art of betting is everybody wants to put as little money possible down to try to make as much money back. Essentially, they want to put commit as less dollars and then pretty much try to get a huge return on investment. But the fact of the matter is, if you do your homework, you do the research, obviously things happen that are out of your control. But if you do your homework and you know what you're talking about, essentially like that, I don't expect you shouldn't be fearful of your analysis. And there's a reason why my record is what it is when it comes to UFC. I put hours and hours, staying up till 3 a.m., making sure that, these picks that we're giving everybody for the Patreon as well, are definitely valid. So I would just say Daniel is correct, but don't, there's also no reason to be fearful of parlays.
Completely. And that leads me to, my next point about people are scared, like you said, that they want to throw as little money as possible to make as much money. I'll be honest, if you do your homework and the favorite is minus 250, I hear a lot of people saying, oh, we'll stay away. When it comes down to it, if you do your homework, if the analysis lines up, I don't give a damn about the odds, Malik. I really don't care. Minus 250, minus 350, minus 450. I don't care. If you're winning money, it doesn't matter if it's a heavy favorite. Yeah. So, Malik, that leads me to our next guy, Hakeem Dawodu, Moneyline. Mm-hmm. What do you like about Hakeem Dawodu?
I like everything about Hakeem Dawodu. Hakeem Dawodu, if I see Hakeem Dawodu on a card, I usually bet him, unless he's going against Movsar Evloev, where he's going to get absolutely dominated in the wrestling game. But no, Hakeem Dawodu is my guy. He has great power in his hands. He's a good wrestler, phenomenal cardio. His nickname is Mean, right? Hakeem Mean Dawodu. We were supposed to do an interview with him, I want to say a couple of years ago, but he got injured or something like that. But no, he's anytime I see Hakeem Dawodu on the card, because he's not like a big name, Vegas always sets his odds at very low. Right now, I believe last I checked, he was minus 210 for the fight against Julian Erosa. If you don't know who Julian Erosa is the definition of a journeyman. He is the definition of a journeyman. He's trash. Let's just call it what it is. The guy gets knocked out, gets starched on a regular. The UFC puts him up there against guys that the UFC wants to build up for a reason. I respect Julian Erosa because he is always game. He does come in there to fight. But come on, who are we kidding? Hakeem Dawodu is going to work this man the entire fight. This is the same guy, Hakeem Dawodu, who beat up one of Habib's proteges, right? So listen, Hakeem Dawodu is no joke. I expect Hakeem Dawodu to make quick work of him. If it doesn't get a finish, he's going to win in a dominant decision.
Oh yeah. And I'm currently going in right now and I'm placing my bets as you're talking. So if you're, tuning in, make sure you guys, make yourself some money on this. We've got 4 more fights that we want to talk about. Irene Aldana. This is the last fight before we get to, the serious main fights. Malik, what do you like about Irene Aldana?
Well, I'll tell you what I don't like about her. I don't like the fact that she misses weights consistently. I don't like the fact that she always comes in overweight. And, it's not fair to her opponent and things of that nature. First, it was Yanit Kunitskaya. Now it's Macy Chiasson. She's going up against this Saturday. Listen, same result. Doesn't matter. Tomato, tomato, throwing tomatoes. Like, Irene Aldana is going to make quick work of her. She has crisp boxing. She's a girl listen, I usually say respectfully, of course, you should sort of stay away from women's MMA fights because I feel like there's a lot of unknown still because it is new to the UFC in some facets as well. So sometimes the judging could be kind of weird. Irene Aldana is not the type of girl you have to worry about. She puts females lights out. Okay. She puts females lights out. If you want a girl that's going to absolutely body someone, this is what she does. This matchup right here, you're not going to see a wrestling match. You're going to see striker's delight. I don't think Macy Chiasson can take Irene Aldana's power. I don't think she can stand with her. Every moment she stands with her, she's in trouble. And for those of you who don't know, Macy Chiasson is a stand-up fighter. So if she thinks that, hey, I got a chance against Irene Aldana, I've got news for you. Whoever is in Macy Chiasson's corner, this upcoming tonight, tell her, do not stand with her. Do not stand with her. Become a wrestler. Irene Aldana doesn't have good wrestling. But in terms of her striking, yeah, she's one of the best in the UFC. And they're fighting at 140 pounds.
Yeah.
Macy Chiasson has never fought at 140 pounds. So, yeah, Irene Aldana is gonna spark her, put her lights out, and it's going to be quick work.
Malik, something, obviously a lot of our people here waiting for our NFL segment. But if we're being honest, if you don't watch the UFC, if you haven't bet on the UFC yet, this is your time. Yeah. The next 3 fights that we're about to talk about are going to make you a lot of money and are extremely exciting. So if you haven't watched the UFC, if you haven't bet on the UFC, now is the time. This is your time. This is your sign right now. Go bet on UFC and watch the fights tonight. So we've got 3 fights. Daniel Rodriguez versus Li Jingliang. Yesterday, me and Malik stayed up late rewatching some of these fights. I'll be honest, Daniel Rodriguez, I'm going to take him to beat Li Jingliang. And basically the whole backstory of this is going to be a stand-up fight. Neither of these guys want to touch the ground. And when I look at their boxing, Daniel Rodriguez is boxing way more crisp. He's way more tactical. I rewatched, yesterday we rewatched, who did he fight? Yes. Or who did he refight? Or
he fought, you talking about when Daniel Rodriguez went up against Kevin Lee.
He went up against Kevin Lee, an excellent wrestler. And what happened, right? He stuffed a lot of the takedowns. And as soon as he got back to the ground, jab, straight left, he won, by decision. But that's what also can happen today. So Daniel Rodriguez, I like him. What do you like about him?
I like Daniel Rodriguez in this fight. I think Li Jingliang has serious power. And I think that as long as he's mindful of Li Jingliang's overhand right, I think he'll be fine. I can see this to be a scenario where Li Jingliang gets really frustrated. One thing I like about Daniel Rodriguez, his boxing is so crisp. The guy literally eats the body up and then goes to the head. And that's something not a lot of UFC fighters do on a consistent basis. They always want to headhunt, but not with a guy like D-Rod. D-Rod, he puts those fists on you. And I'll tell you one thing that's funny. I was laughing with Daniel. I was like, Daniel Rodriguez was a plus 270 favorite underdog against Kevin Holland. And I wasn't seeing it. I wasn't understanding why. I understand Kevin Holland's a good striker and things of that nature. But I've seen on a lot of Kevin Holland's fights, he crumbles under a big shot or something like that. Or you feel like he can wilt, if you will. And I feel like D-Rod is one of those guys because he doesn't have a big name, because he doesn't necessarily talk a lot. He's the definition of a guy that's going to put up or shut up. Like I'm telling you right now, D-Rod's going to bring it to the Leech. And I think that the Leech is a guy that needs to prepare for the guy that he's fighting. And the fact that he was preparing to fight Tony Ferguson, which would have been a bloodbath, I think that this is all playing into D-Rod's favor. I think D-Rod's gonna put him out.
Malik, you said something key. You said a bloodbath. That brings me to our next fight. Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. 2 guys that love to talk a lot of trash. This is the matchmakers giving you a gift right here. They're absolutely giving you a gift. Before this fight, Khamzat was facing Nate Diaz. The odds were minus 1,000.
Right.
The odds here are cut in half. For arguably, Kevin Holland is good, but not nearly on the same level as Khamzat Chimaev. This fight, what are we going to see? We're going to see elbow, smashing time. Khamzat Chimaev, I'm going to hammer the money line, throw him in your parlays. He's 11-0 in the UFC. Last fight was a huge learning experience, obviously, against Gilbert Burns. He got into more of a firefight. Gilbert Burns is miles ahead of what Kevin Holland is. So I'm sorry. I look at Khamzat Chimaev. Obviously, the public doesn't like him right now because he missed weight. That doesn't mean he's not a good fighter, though. He is going to dominate Kevin Holland, throw him in your parlays, and don't even think twice about it.
It almost makes me, this is where the conspiracy theorist in me comes out. It makes me wonder, did the UFC have this planned all along? Because this entire shakeup is a much better fight card than what Hunter and Dana originally came out with. Let's actually talk about it. We're getting Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz, a fight that should have happened 10 years ago. We're getting Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland. People have been clamoring for that fight for a long time, right? For a long, long time. And then we thought we wouldn't have seen it happen because Khamzat Chimaev went down to welterweight. Kevin Holland was fighting at middleweight. Then Kevin Holland goes back down to welterweight. And now it just seems like it's a match made in heaven. So if they could sit in a room, right, and after a guy misses weight, shake the card up and have a better fight card outcome, to me, it just makes you're going to get more eyes on this UFC card because of it now. Remember, the entire UFC 279 press conference was canceled because why? Khamzat Chimaev punched Kevin Holland, two guys that weren't even fighting.
Yeah.
So what if the UFC, right? What if the UFC said, you know what? We saw how much buzz Khamzat Chimaev and Kevin Holland were able to stir up by us canceling the UFC 279 presser. What if we just scrap it and make Khamzat Chimaev versus Kevin Holland, Tony versus Nate, Li Yang versus Daniel Rodriguez? It makes all the sense in the world. Regardless, I'm not going to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm going to talk about the fight. The fact of the matter is Khamzat Chimaev is going to obliterate. He's going to victimize Kevin Holland. It's not going to be that close, to be completely honest with you. It's a fun fight in terms of beef being settled, a lot like how everybody wants to see Leon Edwards versus a guy like Rory Masvidal. But if you ask me, I think Kevin Holland in trouble. I think Big Mouth, that is his nickname, right? Yeah. I think he's in trouble. I think that Khamzat Chimaev is no joke. Those of you who follow me on Twitter at Right Report, you know how I feel about Khamzat Chimaev. I think Khamzat Chimaev is the next big thing in the UFC. I think he's the first UFC fighter that could be a 3-division champion. I just think he needs to, get his weight in control and take his profession a little more serious. But I think he's going to absolutely obliterate Kevin Holland.
Oh, completely. From a betting perspective, I love this. -500. I'm throwing him in the parlay, and I'm not even thinking twice about it. Something that also, people haven't talked enough about is Nate Diaz gets a much better matchup here than he did before.
Yep.
In the interview, before the fight, Nate Diaz was saying, "Listen, I'm probably going to lose this fight." And this is a fight where he's not going to lose this fight. So I'm taking Nate Diaz money line, right? Yeah. What you can, look at about this fight is both of these guys are going to stand in the pocket. Both of these guys are not going to get knocked out. So I look at Nate Diaz and I see there's not a huge discrepancy, but Tony Ferguson has looked bad. He got demolished by Charles Oliveira. Yeah. Got demolished by Beneil Dariush. Yeah. And he got head kicked to the face by Michael Chandler. So I look at Nate Diaz. This is going to go 5 rounds, and I'm going to take him to win a division or to win by decision. You're going to see this. You're going to see him get in the clinch. He's going to push Tony Ferguson up against the fence. He's going to attack the body, and he's going to win by decision. You're going to see a lot of blood in this fight. So once again, if you haven't watched UFC, this is the fight to watch, and take Nate Diaz.
I love Daniel's Nate Diaz impersonation. What did he say at the press conference yesterday? Real gangsters come from the California. So it made me laugh a little bit when he just tried to do the impersonation really quickly. But no, I got Nate Diaz here, the Nate Diaz army. I think Nate Diaz is going to melt Tony Ferguson. It's going to be a 5-round war. Here's what I'm telling everybody. If you have friends, family, whoever, and they don't understand the sport UFC or they want to get into the UFC, this is the time to show them. This is a fight that you want to show them. This is going to be a 5-round bloody war, a fight that we should have seen years ago. And yeah, I got Nate Diaz because real West Coast gangster. I think Nate Diaz is going to melt Tony. And I think, the Stockton slap we're going to see tonight. I'm excited. So, I mean, good on the UFC for, having Nate Diaz go out with a banger, because this is a banger of a fight. And I'm excited. What did he say? I'm not surprised, homie. So, yeah, I got Nate Diaz winning this fight.
Oh, yeah. So, it's going to be a great one. I mean, we're going to be watching it together. And feel free to DM us. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter during these fights. At us, at Right Report, at Alameda Views, at us. So,
and I want to just tell everybody, if you want to make a little bit of money, you want to get our official plays and want to know exactly, hey, what is Malik Wright actually parlaying for this fight? Make sure you subscribe to the Patreon. The link is in the description below. We are winning people tons of money on a regular basis. This is no fluke. UFC is one of my best sports. A lot of hours went into this. A lot of film study went into this. But I think that I always tell people there are certain cards that are extremely bettable. This is one of those cards.
Oh, completely. So now it's time to switch it up to the NFL. And what better way to start it off than with the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Malik, me and you, we're going to be in the suite, the First Star Suite, hanging around with the employees on Sunday. We're also going to be outside of the stadium doing a Madden giveaway. So if you want to find us, find Malik, find myself. We're going to be outside the stadium and we're going to be doing a Madden giveaway. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But let's get into this actual game, Malik. The Bengals are favored by 6.5. And I have a lot of people, saying, I'm scared, right? I'm scared because the Bengals, I don't know what to expect. I'm looking straight at one of our producers, Isaac. Don't be scared. Don't be scared, Isaac. Listen, the Cincinnati Bengals are going to come out and demolish the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm for sure taking the money line with the Cincinnati Bengals. Put them in your parlay. I don't care what you do with them. Put them, bet that straight. They're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. One of the biggest reasons is the offensive line. We talked about it on our show, on Wednesday. Their offensive line is trash. That's just putting it bluntly. In the preseason, they got demolished by the Jaguars. The Jaguars' defensive line, they got killed. So when I look at this team, I look at a Bengals defensive line that was pretty damn good last year, and I see a huge discrepancy between that defensive line and arguably the worst offensive line. So that alone, adding on to the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals are healthy, no one is injured on that offense, I'm going to take the Bengals to beat the Steelers. I don't care if it's a divisional game. I don't care if it's, the hard-nosed Pittsburgh Steelers are going to outforce the Cincinnati Bengals. No. Bet this with your head. Bet this with your smarts. Know that there's a huge discrepancy. Take the Bengals, please, and thank you.
Yeah, I got the Bengals, obviously. For those of you who tune into the Sit Down with Malik Wright, Mondays and Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern Time with my co-host, Megan Dan. You guys saw my entire spiel about that. You know how I feel about this game. I was a little hoarse after my entire fired up speech. Listen, the Bengals are going to obliterate the Steelers. Not going to be close. Joe Burrow might throw for 5 touchdowns. The Steelers have a cornerback core that sucks. Linebacking core, I think, is improved. Defensive line is okay. I think that you're going to see the Bengals dictate the run game. I think Joe Mixon is going to rush for 100+ yards. And I don't think that there's nobody that can cover Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. And now you add a guy like Hayden Hurst to the mix. I think the Bengals are going to make quick work of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they realize they're on to bigger and better things. They have bigger fish to fry. The Pittsburgh Steelers are an afterthought, especially with Mitchell at quarterback.
Completely. And you said an afterthought. You know what's not an afterthought?
What's that?
We've got some player props at the end of the show. Stay tuned. We're going to talk. We've got 3 player props for you that we're giving out for free on here. But we're going to switch it up to the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers versus the Cleveland Browns. This is a revenge tour. This is a revenge tour for Baker Mayfield. And one of my favorite stats, because we love looking at trends for, week 1. One of my favorite stats is the Cleveland Browns haven't won a home game since, can I even remember? They're 0-16, I believe. They've got Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I'm sorry. I look at this Carolina Panthers team. They've got weapons. And the biggest question mark is Baker Mayfield, right? That's the question. We're not talking about a full season. We're talking about one game. Baker, all we need is one game with the weapons that they have. Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore. That's much better than what they had with Cleveland. So revenge tour, Carolina Panthers at home, plus money. I'm going to take the Panthers all day long. Give me them.
I think that Baker Mayfield always needs a narrative in order to play, to his brightest spots, if you will. And I think that this is one of those games where he has the perfect narrative, a team that gave up on him, a team that he brought back to life, if you will, right? He took the Browns to the playoffs, got him a playoff victory, the whole 9 yards. I expect Baker Mayfield to play with his hair on fire. Don't get me wrong. I still feel how I feel about Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to go back to being Baker Mayfield after this week, but I think that you're going to see a motivated Baker Mayfield this week, and I expect them to win in a gritty game against the Cleveland Browns. And I think what it's going to come down to, I think that Browns defense is going to give Baker Mayfield issues, but I think at some point the offense is going to have to answer, and I just don't trust Jacoby Brissett and company.
Completely. And that's the biggest question about the Browns too. What offense do they have? We saw them in preseason with Deshaun Watson, without Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
They had nothing. They're a run-first team, as we saw last year, but
Mhm.
they also had the ability to have Baker Mayfield make plays outside of the pocket.
Right.
You don't have that with Jacoby Brissett and this team. So love that play, Panthers. I've got a play, and it's more of a lean that we haven't talked about enough. It's now time for me to talk about Tua. Let's talk about these Dolphins. And I know you're going to be rolling your eyes, Malik, but if you guys have tuned into the sit down, you know how I feel about the Dolphins. I have a stat for you guys. The Dolphins always beat the Patriots, right? This is their kryptonite. At home in Miami, they are 7-1 over the past 8 games at home. So I'm going to take the Dolphins to beat the Patriots. And I grew up a Patriots fan. I did. So it hurts me to say, but with Brady, without Brady, they were bad in Miami. And I'm going to, continue to do that with the Patriots defense declining, the Miami Dolphins offense improving with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, that run game. I think this is game one. They've got a lot, even Bill Belichick put a lot of respect the other day on Tyreek Hill. I don't know what the Patriots' answer is going to be on defense. No J.C. Jackson, no Stephon Gilmore. The defense lost a lot. I lean the Dolphins in this game.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I think that the Dolphins certainly can win this game. If they win this game, it's certainly not going to be because of Tua Tagovailoa. It's going to be because of that Miami Dolphins defense and other people getting involved. Tua Tagovailoa still can't throw the ball deep down the field accurately. I just don't know what the fascination is about him. I'm not going to make this about Tua Tagovailoa. I think that the Dolphins are the better football team, and I think the Patriots are going through a little bit of an offensive change, especially with the new offensive coordinator in place since Josh McDaniels took the job over with the Raiders. So look, I'm not drinking whatever Daniel is drinking. We should have checked them, Isaac and Colton, before the show because again, he's on this Tua kick. I don't know what he sees in Tua Tagovailoa. I don't see it. And mind you, I'm an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. I've gotten to watch plenty of Tua Tagovailoa, and he was phenomenal at Alabama. And then he got injured. Obviously, he played a little bit differently. But I'm just not seeing this hope that you have that you're holding out for Tua. But this is not what the show's about, right? It's simply us making our picks. You can see us debate that and all that kind of stuff on the sit down Mondays and Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern time. I got the Dolphins winning this game, but I'm not saying they're going to win because of Tua Tagovailoa like some people.
Nope, I'm saying that they're going to win because of the situation around them. But
Okay.
that leads me to our next game, Monday Night Football. We got some more, but I want to talk about this Monday Night Football game. The Broncos versus Seahawks. Malik, what are people seeing? The spread is 6.5, and the Broncos are going to demolish the Seahawks. The Seahawks, what do they have on their roster? Geno Smith. I don't trust the Seahawks team. And I look at the Broncos. Last year, the whole question about the Broncos was they're missing that quarterback. They're missing that star. They're missing that player to take them over the top. And now they've got it. Russell Wilson. And I look at this team. You've got 2 elite running backs, Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon. Exactly how this game is going to go is it's going to be a smash mouth game. It's going to be, a low scoring game. So you can lean towards the under, but the Broncos are going to play with the rhythm. They're going to run the ball, play action pass, Cortland Sutton. They're going to chug down the field. And I'll be honest, they're going to score the ball, and the Seahawks don't have the answer with Geno Smith at quarterback. Love the Broncos this week.
Let's ride. The Denver Broncos are going to beat the Seattle Seahawks. Just as corny as I sound doing that just now, that's exactly how corny Russell Wilson sounds. But no, I think that the Denver Broncos are going to win this game pretty easily. I mean, the starting quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks is Geno Smith. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
Geno Smith, and that's the answer, right? They have no answer. So take the Broncos.
More of a question, but
let's switch it up to we got the Eagles versus the Lions. The Eagles, I'll be honest, they're one of the teams I am extremely high on this year. I'm not high on any team in the NFC East. I don't like the Cowboys. I don't like the Giants. I don't like the Commanders because what do they have? And the Eagles, the simple fact that they got a lot better this offseason. You got a quarterback like Jalen Hurts. I have reservations about him. I don't know if he's the star quarterback. I don't know if he's going to be there in 2 years. But what I do know is the talent around him got better. Miles Sanders, the biggest question, is he healthy? Well, he's healthy for this game. A.J. Brown, wide receiver 1, he's healthy for this game. One of the best offensive lines in the league. They're healthy going against a Lions team that a lot of people are overhyping. Hard Knocks football, Dan Campbell.
A lot of people overhyping, says the guy who spoke to Dan Campbell, been talking about it all summer, blah, 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 blah. You were saying, I think that, to be honest, this is my impersonation of Daniel, guys. To be honest, I think the Lions are going to be better than a lot of people think. Like that was Daniel's impersonation of whenever we talk about Dan Campbell and the Lions. The fact of the matter is, listen, the Eagles are going to win this game. It's going to be close. I always believe that Dan Campbell will always have his team prepared and ready to play football, and I think it's going to be a lot tougher than what people think. I'm excited, actually. This is sort of completely weird what I'm about to say, but I'm really excited to see the progression of Jeff Okudah, Ohio State guy. I really want to see if he's going to develop into that cornerback one. I want to see how he matches up against a guy like AJ Brown week one if they have him on him. It's going to be very, very exciting. But like, no, to be honest with you, like the Eagles should win this game. But is this one of those trap games that the Eagles could lose? 100%. 100%. I'm just not betting on Jared Goff.
Completely. I'm not betting on Jared Goff either. And another guy that I'm not betting on is Joe Flacco. I'm sorry.
Joey Flock.
I'm not betting on Joe Flacco. And people are saying, oh, revenge game. Joe Flacco's not having a revenge game against the Ravens. Hell no. So I'm rolling with the Ravens. The points, it's a lot of points. You can take the points. I'm just throwing them in the parlay. I think that this Ravens team, Lamar Jackson, he's got something to prove. He's got, as little baby said, he got something to prove. a little corny there, but I'm sorry. This Ravens team, they're going to come out with fire. They're going to come out with a vengeance. After last year, a lot of people were doubting them. A lot of people said, oh, they're not going to return this year. Week one, this is going to be an absolute bloodbath. Mark Andrews, looked for him to have a lot of, whether it's fantasy or player props, look for Mark Andrews to have a good game. Lamar Jackson, he's going to play with his hair on fire. Take the Ravens this week.
I think the Ravens are going to play phenomenal. I just wonder if the Jets still cover zero blitz at him, will he be able to adjust, because that seems to be his kryptonite. But no, I think the Ravens are going to win this game pretty handedly. I don't believe in Joe Flacco. There's no revenge game going on for Joe Flacco here, but that would be a crazy story if it was. And, from a Bengals fan who's going to be at the Bengals home opener in the First Star Suite, hanging out with some First Star employees, I'm pretty excited to be sitting there and be seeing the Bengals demolish the Steelers. So I hope that when we're sitting in that suite, Daniel, we see on the scoreboard it come across, the Ravens are down to the New York Football Jets by 10 points with 2 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. I'm not sure if we'll see that actually, but man, that would be a perfect touch to the shellacking we're going to put on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday.
Oh, completely. But that's not happening. I'm sorry. Ravens are going to absolutely demolish the Jets. So that kind of, we got a couple more games to talk about. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about one game, that a lot of people are saying, like, I don't know if I'm going to bet this game. I'm staying away from the Atlanta Falcons. And that's what my whole point about this game is. The Falcons are trash. The Falcons are going to be bad. They are a bottom feeder. Marcus Mariota is fine. The offensive line, garbage. Their defense isn't very good. They're going to be a 3-win, 4-win football team. So if they're going up against arguably one of the best defenses in the entire NFL, the Saints have one of the best defenses. You look at that defensive line, Cam Jordan, they got first-round talent. That linebacking core, Demario Davis, the secondary, Marcus Lattimore. I look at this defense. It's one of the best defenses in the league. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the Falcons are going to score more than one touchdown. So I looked at their prop and, their team total is at 18.5. I'm smashing that team total. I'm taking the Saints to win this game. So I trust Jameis Winston and the rest of this team. So I've got a player prop for the Saints. We're going to hold off on that for a little bit later, but go with the Saints here.
How many people want to eat a W tonight? Right? If for those of you who've been following us a long time, you remember when Daniel did the iconic W eating the see, there it goes right there. There goes Daniel eating the W right there.
Jameis Winston, baby.
Yeah, I'm not a Jameis Winston believer, but I definitely think they're going to win this game. That's really all. There's no rhyme or reason to it. I just think the Saints are a better team.
Yeah, completely. So we've got some more bets lined up, but you've got to go subscribe to the Patreon for a lot of those. We've got bets for the Chiefs versus Cardinals. We've got bets for the Raiders versus Chargers. Go subscribe to the Patreon if you want to make some money. We've got our full bets there. In the preseason, what were we? 25-7, 25-6. Absolutely killed it. Roll that over to this year and go subscribe to the Patreon. So I've got one more game that, I kind of want to touch on here, Malik. Let's talk about real quick. I want to get your thoughts. Buccaneers versus Cowboys, because I'll be honest, the way I look at this game, the Cowboys offensive line's trash. The Cowboys offensive line's trash, and I know there's a lot of turmoil around Tom Brady, but I think there's a lot of exploitable props here. Look at CeeDee Lamb, because no Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, I don't think he's playing. They also lost Cedric Wilson to the Dolphins. Look to CD Lamb to have a huge game, and also Mike Evans. I've got a prop for you about Mike Evans. We're going to hold off on that for a little bit, but what are your thoughts on the Buccaneers versus Cowboys?
I honestly don't know who's going to win this game. What I will say is, though, the Cowboys came awfully close to beating the Buccaneers last year, and I thought the Buccaneers had a better team last year than what they're fielding now. You obviously got rumors out there about Tom Brady's home life and things of that nature. You wonder, is his head in the game truly like Troy Bolton from High School Musical? Remember that? But no, if you ask me, I truly wonder if Tom Brady's gonna be able to put it all together, if the GOAT is gonna be able to put it all together. If you ask me, man, though, I'm going with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Cowboys week one. I just think that they're the safer bet. I think that it's gonna show that those weeks that Tom Brady missed when he wasn't there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think those things can show. And this is not me betting against. Maybe it is me betting against Tom Brady, but yeah, I just think that the Dallas Cowboys are gonna get revenge. They should have beat them last year in the opener. That was a fluke victory, if you ask me. Buccaneers 100% got lucky, but and I typically don't say that too often, but they got lucky. I think the Cowboys pulled this one out, and I think you're gonna get those Cowboys fans out in full effect, like, how about them Cowboys and all that kind of stuff after this week, because they'll be pretty fired up.
Well, we'll see on the sit down on Monday. The Bengals are playing the Cowboys. We got a cool little segment for you guys, but now's the time where I'm going to talk about a couple player props that I have for you to hammer, right? We release them on the Patreon. Go subscribe. I've got 3 for you, right? And I'm going to start it off here in Cincinnati. We got Joe Mixon anytime touchdown score. I'm going to absolutely hammer this prop. We did this all last year. He scored 12 touchdowns in the final 11 games with the Bengals. 12 touchdowns. That's ridiculous. And to get this prop at -120, that's like an even prop. That's saying, okay, it's 50-50. No, this is not 50-50. Going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers with a better offensive line with the Bengals, he's going to get a ton of touches because he doesn't have any competition for touches. So I'm hammering Joe Mixon anytime touchdown because he's going to be on the field 3 downs. He's going to be on the field in the red zone, whether it's receiving, whether it's rushing. Hammer that because he is going to score a touchdown. Mark it Monday or next Saturday. We're going to come back when Joe Mixon scores a touchdown. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So I'm going to roll through these. We've got 2 more for you. Alvin Kamara, there was a lot of questions about him. Oh, is he going to play this year? Is he going to get suspended? The answer is he's playing, and bet on Alvin Kamara, right? I'm going to take his scrimmage yards, over 90.5 scrimmage yards. He's, like I said, same with Joe Mixon. He's going to be on the field 3 downs. He's going to be on the field in the red zone. Last year when he was playing, he was getting so many touches. He was getting 20+ touches, and they're going up against the Falcons. Do I need to remind you guys what that Falcons defense is? They're trash. So if I'm getting, with player props, it's all about opportunity. If I'm getting a player with all the opportunity in the world, with an excellent matchup, I'm going to hammer that all day long. So last year against the Falcons, he had 162 in their first matchup, and he had 108 in their second matchup. This is a no question bet for me. I'm throwing a couple units on this, and you better as well. Alvin Kamara over 90 scrimmage yards.
I like that.
And my last one, we kind of touched on a little bit. I'm going Mike Evans over 71 receiving yards. When I look at this Buccaneers team, I see no Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I see no Robert Gronkowski.
Right.
I see Chris Godwin coming back from an injury. And what else do they have? They've got Mike Evans. Last year, I looked
Julio
at
Jones.
they've got Julio Jones. He's fine, but does he have the connection that Mike Evans has with Tom Brady? No, he doesn't. So I look at Mike Evans, and last year he hit this prop in 9 games, and he hit this prop, with the last 4 games with no Chris Godwin, with no Antonio Brown. He was catching 9 passes a game. He was getting 11 targets a game. So I look at the Buccaneers going up against a porous Cowboys defense. Trayvon Diggs he's very good. He's opportunistic, but that doesn't mean he doesn't give up receiving yards. So Mike Evans is going to get a ton of receiving yards. I think he's going to break 100 yards. Mm-hmm. I think he'll get a touchdown. So for this prop to be at only 70 receiving yards, I'm sorry. I'm throwing the bag at this. Mike Evans over 70 receiving yards. I love it.
I got one player prop. And remember, guys, put your questions down in the comment section. At the end of the show here, which is coming up, we're going to be answering all your questions for about 5 minutes. Just talking with you. Again, we want this to be a user interactive show, and we want you guys to join in the conversation. We'll try to answer any questions that you may have. I think that the one player prop I like is Patrick Mahomes over 2.5 touchdowns against the Cardinals. I think Pat Mahomes is obviously, I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs can still run the ball. And I think that they're going to be relying a lot on Patrick Mahomes, as they always do, even if they'll shuffle passes, so on and so forth. And I think Patrick Mahomes is going to absolutely hammer that against the Arizona Cardinals, if you ask me.
Absolutely love it.
But
Absolutely love it.
we have someone here asking you a question, Daniel. They say, Robert DiGiorno, he says, how much is 1 unit for you? You say you're putting 1 unit.
Ooh.
You say you're putting 1 unit. This is getting down to Daniel's betting philosophy, if you will. Things of that nature. So
no. So I love this. These are the type of questions, that they get in the mind of, how we're betting. I'll be honest. I started off, Malik will tell you, he's the one that kind of got me into betting a couple years ago. My unit used to be $10. It used to be $5.
Used to be.
It used to be. So now, I mean, we'll be honest, with the football season, after building up a pretty sizable bankroll in the preseason, my unit's $50 right now, $50 to $100. But I'm the type of bettor still that sees the props, and I look at, the Joe Mixon one. I wouldn't be lying if I said I threw $250, maybe $300 on that prop already. But my unit typically is $50. So that's what I'm rolling with.
Okay. We've got another one here from our guy Mason. He asked, Trey Lance over 39.5 rushing yards. Ooh. I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer. I think Trey Lance is 100% going to run. I think that's something that Kyle Shanahan wasn't able to incorporate with Jimmy Garoppolo in his system. Certainly Mike McDaniel could use that in his system over in you could use a little Jimmy Garoppolo in his system over in Miami with Tua at quarterback, but that's another topic. No, I think Trey Lance for sure over 39.5 rushing yards is a good bet for sure.
Completely. And the thing that, that'll help give you an edge when you're betting is look at line movement too. This line was early in the week. It was at 33.5. Mm-hmm. Now it's 39.5. Mm-hmm. That shows that, Vegas is okay. Trey Lance is going to get a lot of rushing yards. And also, just like how we cashed, the Josh Allen rushing prop, quarterbacks tend to trust their legs early in the season.
Yeah, for sure.
They trust their legs because why? It's, second nature.
Daniel, we got a little bit of breaking news, man. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Darren Waller just signed an extension with the Raiders. Ooh. Just signed an extension. Producer sent me over it for $51 million. Right? It's a new 3-year deal. That's huge for the Raiders. Got a motivated Darren Waller. Finally got paid over there in Vegas, man. Obviously, with all the weapons they already have, and guys like Hunter Renfrow, guys like Devontae Adams. Man, it seems like the Raiders are doing things the right way over there. They seem to be locking in their people, man. And yeah, man, I think that's a huge deal for Darren Waller, if you ask me.
Oh, completely. And to tie that into betting a little bit, for those of you, who have followed the show, who are subscribed to the Sit Down with Malik, right? If you haven't, go subscribe right now. They know I've been a huge Derek Carr fan. Mm-hmm. I've been a huge Derek Carr fan. Last year, he completely over-exceeded expectations. This year's the same. You add a number 1 wide receiver in Devontae Adams. You still have a healthy Darren Waller. You got Hunter Renfrow. For those of you, if you're betting futures, if you're, looking to bet a couple futures before the season starts, Derek Carr over passing yards. This is going to be a pass-heavy offense with elite weapons in the division that they have to score a ton of points.
For sure.
So I sprinkled a little bit also on Derek Carr MVP. I did just throw a $10 on that. But I'm telling you, Malik, listen, Derek Carr is going to blow people's heads out the water this year. Sure. He was a former MVP candidate. Now he's got a number 1 receiver, Darren Waller. I'm going to be liking his passing prop a lot this year because they're going to throw the ball a lot, and he's a good quarterback. He's got good weapons. So
quarterback.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got a lot of obviously bets. Make sure you guys, what I want everyone to do right now that's watching us live, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button on this YouTube channel. Like I said, we have live shows Monday, Wednesday for the Sit Down with Malik, right? And every single Saturday morning, you can catch us here for the Right Bet, where we're trying to help you make a little bit of money, making sure you're betting the right way, because there's only one way to truly bet, and that is the right way. I want to thank, the good people over at First Star for making this all possible. I want to thank you guys for spending your Saturday mornings with us. And like I said, if you go look in the description as well, if you want to make actual money, right? No games. You want to make actual money. Make sure you subscribe to the TWSN Betting Patreon, where you're going to get all of our official plays. You want to subscribe to the GOAT tier, you'll get all my plays, and you'll get to see all my picks for this weekend's UFC card. I got 6 plays that cannot miss, right? So I'm really, really pumped up for this weekend slate of games from college football, NFL, and obviously capping it off with the UFC. But want to thank you guys so much for joining us for the first ever episode of the Right Bet. Catch Daniel and I each and every single Saturday, and we are out.